The animal is dead. The hunt succeeded. For one moment, the camp has more meat than it can eat. But the sun is warm. Flies are already gathering. Blood darkens the ground, and every hour changes the food. There is no refrigerator, no freezer, no sealed plastic, no metal can, no electric machine keeping the meat cold through the night. If the group waits too long, the reward begins turning into danger. But the real answer to how ancient humans kept food from rotting is not that they discovered one perfect preservation method. It is that they learned to control time. They dried food, smoked it, cooked it, buried it, stored it in cold places, protected it from moisture, fermented it, shared it quickly. And when preservation was impossible, they changed where they moved, what they hunted, and how much they tried to carry. Food did not need to last forever. It needed to last long enough. First, forget the idea that ancient humans always killed one animal and immediately ate everything around the fire. Sometimes a carcass could feed a group for several days. Sometimes meat was carried away. Sometimes useful parts were processed separately. Fat, organs, marrow, skin, bone, and muscle did not all behave the same way. Some food spoiled quickly, others lasted longer. The exact methods depended on climate, season, species, available fuel, containers, insects, humidity, and local knowledge. People living on a cold plain did not preserve food like people living in a humid forest, on a dry grassland, or beside a freezing coast. There was no single ancient kitchen. Imagine that you are living with a small hunter-gatherer group. Around 40,000 years ago, the hunt has produced a large animal. Everyone begins working. The first preservation method is speed. The body must be opened. The meat must be separated. The organs must be examined. The most perishable parts may be eaten first. Fat may be protected carefully because it provides valuable energy. Bones may be broken for marrow. Hide may be removed before it becomes difficult to work. Nothing waits for convenience. Ancient people cannot forget the carcass. Heat, insects, and scavengers. Do not pause. The group must make decisions while tired from the hunt. What should be eaten now? What should be carried? What can be dried? What will spoil before tomorrow? What is worth the wait? The wrong decision wastes not only food, it wastes the risk, energy, weapons, and injuries used to obtain it. Now comes drying. Water inside food helps decay. Remove enough moisture and many organisms that cause spoilage grow more slowly. Ancient people do not need to understand microorganisms to observe this pattern. Thin strips of meat last longer than a thick, wet piece. Fish left in moving dry air changes differently from fish piled in a damp container. Plants, berries, mushrooms, roots, and seeds can also be dried when conditions allow. But drying is not simply placing food in the sun. The pieces must be cut correctly, too thick, and the center remains wet. The weather must cooperate. Rain and humid air slow drying. Dust, flies, birds, and scavengers threaten exposed food. Someone must watch it. Preservation creates another job. Racks may be built from branches, food may be hung high, pieces may be turned, spoiled sections may be removed. A sudden storm can force everyone to move the food toward shelter. One careless night can undo several days of work. In a dry climate, sun and wind can become powerful tools. In a wet climate, the same method may fail. The landscape decides which knowledge becomes useful. Then comes smoke. A fire already provides heat, light, cooking, and protection. It can also help dry food. Meat or fish placed near smoke may lose moisture while compounds from the smoke slow some forms of spoilage and discourage insects. But smoking requires control. Too close to the flames, and the food burns. Too far away, and it remains wet. The smoke must reach the food without filling every piece with soot and ash. Fuel matters. Different woods create different heat, smoke, smell, and risk. Wet fuel produces heavy smoke but poor drying. Resinous material may change flavor or create unpleasant deposits. The group learns by repeated success and failure. A good smoking place is valuable. It may be inside a shelter, beneath an overhang, or around a specially arranged fire, depending on time and place. But smoke preservation is not magic. The food can still become moldy. Fat can still turn rancid. Insects can still reach it. Rain can still re-wet it. A smoked piece of meat must still be stored carefully. Preservation methods often work together. Cooking begins the process. Drying removes moisture. Smoke changes the surface. Cool storage slows the rest. No single step carries the entire burden. Now, imagine winter. Cold becomes a natural refrigerator. Food can remain frozen or chilled for longer periods. Meat may be stored outside where temperatures remain low. It may be placed in snow, ice, shaded ground, or another cold location, but cold creates new problems. Animals can smell it. A thaw can begin suddenly. Sunlight warms one side. Snowmelt reaches the food. Repeated freezing and thawing changes texture and encourages spoilage once temperatures rise. A storage place safe in deep winter may become dangerous during early spring. Cold is useful only if people understand how long it will remain. In warmer regions, the ground may offer cooler conditions. Food can be placed in pits, caves, shaded areas, or containers protected from direct sun, but burying food is not the same as making it safe. Soil contains moisture. Insects enter, rodents dig, floodwater reaches the pit. The location may be forgotten. Another group may find it. A storage pit must be placed where water will not collect and marked in a way the group remembers. A hidden store protects food from strangers. It can also hide the food from its owners. Then there are plants. Seeds and nuts often last longer than fresh meat or fruit if kept dry. They can provide energy after the season in which they were collected. But dry food attracts rodents and insects. Moisture causes mold. A cracked container opens the supply. A roof leak can destroy weeks of gathering. Seeds must sometimes be cleaned, shelled, roasted, pounded, or stored away from the ground. Some contain oils that become bitter or rancid. Some plants contain toxins that must be removed through soaking, grinding, heating, or repeated washing. Preserving food safely may require processing that looks like extra work but prevents sickness later. A pile of nuts is not yet a reliable food store. It is a promise that must be protected. Berries and fruit create another challenge. Fresh fruit may spoil quickly. It can be dried in sun or smoke. It may be mashed, mixed with other foods, or stored where conditions slow decay. Some fruits naturally become more acidic or alcoholic through fermentation. This change can make them last differently from the fresh form, but fermentation is difficult to control. The same container that produces useful food can produce rot. A sour smell may be normal. Another may mean danger. Ancient people judged through smell, taste, texture, color, insects, and the way a container opens. These signs become a form of testing. There is no printed expiration date. The body and memory must judge the food. Fermentation may also preserve animal foods. Fish, meat, dairy in later pastoral contexts, and plant foods can change through controlled microbial activity. But we should be careful. Not every group used the same fermented foods, and not every ancient method is known. What can be said is that humans repeatedly learned to use processes that modern people often describe as spoilage, stopping them at a stage where the food remained useful. The boundary between preserved and rotten is not always obvious. It is maintained by culture. People know what a safe smell should be, what texture is expected, how long the process usually takes, which container should be used. A stranger may find the food disgusting. A local person may recognize it as valuable. Now, consider cooking. Heat can kill many harmful organisms and make some foods easier to digest. But cooked food does not last forever. Once cooled, it can become contaminated again. A cooked piece of meat left warm and damp may spoil quickly. Cooking buys time. It does not stop time. The group may reheat food, keep it near the fire, dry it after cooking, or eat it before the next day becomes too warm. A large meal may be safer than a large store if preservation conditions are poor. This is why sharing matters. When a group has too much food, giving it away may be more useful than watching it rot. Neighboring groups, relatives, or visitors can consume food before it spoils. Generosity builds obligation. A group that shares during abundance may receive food later during shortage. Preservation is not only physical, it can be social. Food that cannot be stored in the ground may be stored in relationships, but sharing also creates tension. Who receives the best pieces? Who worked in the hunt, stayed with children, or repaired the weapons? Food distribution reveals status, trust, fairness, and memory. A large carcass can strengthen the group or create an argument before the meat is cold. Then come scavengers. The smell of meat travels farther than people realize. Hyenas, wolves, bears, wild dogs, birds, rodents, and insects may all investigate depending on the region. Food must be hung, covered, guarded, buried, smoked, or kept close to the fire. Each method protects against some dangers. and creates others. Hanging food keeps it away from small animals but makes it visible. Burying hides it but exposes it to moisture. Keeping it beside the shelter protects it from thieves but brings predators closer to sleeping children. A food store becomes something worth defending. The group may wake at night because an animal is pulling at a drying rack. Someone grabs a torch, others make noise. The predator retreats, or it does not. Preserving food can create danger that eating immediately would have avoided. Now, moisture enters the store. Perhaps rain blows beneath a shelter. A container cracks. Dried meat absorbs damp air. Seeds begin clumping. Mold appears. At first, the damage is small. A few dark spots. A different smell. A softer surface. The group must decide whether to remove the damaged part or discard everything. This is not an easy decision when food is scarce. Hunger encourages risk. A person may eat food they would reject during abundance. Sometimes, nothing happens. Sometimes one meal causes vomiting, weakness, or death. Spoiled food is not always visibly dangerous, and cooking cannot remove every toxin. Ancient people rely on patterns, caution, and experience. But that experience is written in suffering. Now, imagine a child reaches into a storage container with dirty hands. A rodent bites through a covering. An insect lays eggs in dried meat. A dog steals a piece and drops it in the mud. Preservation is not one decision made at the moment of storage. It is daily inspection. Food must be checked, moved, turned, dried again, rewrapped, protected from children and animals. A full store creates confidence. It also creates work. The larger the store, the more ways it can fail. This becomes more important when humans begin living in larger, more settled communities. More food can be stored, but storage concentrates risk. Damp, infestation, fire, or theft can erase months of labor. The person controlling the store may also control who eats. But for mobile, ancient humans, storage has another limit: weight. Food preserved successfully still must be carried if the group moves. Dried meat is lighter than fresh meat because water has been removed. That makes it useful during travel. Seeds and nuts can be portable. Fat provides dense energy but may leak or turn rancid. Containers add weight. A group cannot carry everything. Sometimes the safest preservation method is leaving food in a hidden cache and returning later. Sometimes the group stays near the food until it is eaten. Sometimes valuable pieces are abandoned because movement matters more. Food and mobility constantly compete. Now, the season changes. The fruit disappears. Animals migrate. Fish move. Plants die back. The preserved food becomes the bridge between abundance and scarcity. Every piece eaten today reduces what remains tomorrow. The group must decide how quickly to use it. Too slowly, and the food may spoil before anyone benefits. Too quickly, and nothing remains when the weather worsens. A store is not simply food, it is a calculation. How many people, how many days, how much travel, how much fresh food might still be found, how much should be saved for children, the sick, or an unexpected delay. Ancient people may not record these numbers on paper, but they understand the consequences of misjudging them. The smallest portions often appear before the store is completely empty. Hunger begins as restraint. Now, the myth must be corrected. Ancient humans did not preserve food with one secret natural technique. They combined observation, labor, climate, smoke, sunlight, cold, dryness, containers, fermentation, cooking, sharing, and movement. Their methods could be highly effective. They could also fail. Meat spoiled, mold spread. Rodents entered stores. Rain destroyed dried food. People became sick from what they ate. Preservation reduced risk. It never removed it. Could you keep food from rotting in their world? Possibly. You could cut meat into strips, build a rack, use smoke, choose a cool place, keep seeds dry, but you would arrive without the knowledge stored in their senses. You might cut the pieces too thick, use the wrong fuel, mistake damp food for dry food, seal moisture inside a container, ignore the first sign of mold, bury a store where rainwater collects, eat fermented food too early, discard safe food because it smells unfamiliar, or trust dangerous food because it looks normal. The animal is dead. The hunt succeeded. For one moment, the camp has more food than it can eat, but the sun is warm. Flies are gathering. Clouds are forming beyond the hills. Someone begins cutting the meat into narrow strips. Another person prepares the fire. Children collect dry branches. A rack rises beside the camp. Before refrigerators existed, ancient humans did not stop food from changing. They survived by making it change more slowly, more safely, and in ways they had learned to understand.